Okay, hello again and welcome to the end of day 18. So this has been a long and productive day. The bot still doesn't completely work though, but I've got a lot of refactoring done, prompt engineering done, and some offensive testing done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what I got done, what I learnt, and then I'll show you some of the ways that the bot breaks. And then we'll do some offensive testing just to finish it off. So let me have a look over here. Okay, so the first thing I did was clean up the main process because that was a little bit of a mess. So there used to be a lot of duplicated code. There's two main endpoints in here. One that gives you direct access to the browser. You can just load it up and you get a little daily sort of room interface that you can just speak to the bot to via that. And then there is the little RTVI server that my widget uses to communicate with the server and also get messages back. So that's cleaned up. And I also cleaned up how the configuration is managed. So let me have a look. So there's two configurations now, one for the server and another one for the bot. And this all manages the getting of environment variables from the environment and setting them to the environment as well. And these can be overridden, many of them via the command line, some of them, so that gives you some convenience there. And of course, this sort of abstraction lends itself to one day having a config loaded in a JSON format from a database, for example. So some of the things I moved to configuration are the STTMuteFilter that I've spoken about a few times now, which I use to prevent the bot being interruptible at the beginning. There's some issues with that, so I've set the default for now to false. I'll demonstrate what those are later, the issues there. So I've also added support for Elevenlabs, the voice, and I set the voice to the default to the same one that's on my production VAPI website. The one on askjohngeorge.com. Also moved the bot name to config because that surprisingly was hard-coded somewhere before. Okay, so I've also moved all the Flowbot prompts now to their own file so I can do all my prompt engineering just in this one file. And over in the flow bot config, everything is just loaded from there, and just you set up the functions and the handlers and transition callbacks in this file and set up your flow manager and such here. So at the moment I'm actually just loading a single role message. So there's two types of message. There's the role messages and the task messages in each prompt, in each node, and I'm just using the same role messages for all of them now, but I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this so that each one gets its own role prompt and modify these slightly for each one just to make it a little bit better. So also I figured out some stuff while I was doing this because it wasn't working as I wanted it in the beginning. So what I wanted to figure out essentially is how exactly, once you're in a node, does it decide to call a handler? And then when is the transition callback called and what happens there? Do you have to transition to a new node? All that. So essentially this function here is a function that's provided to the LLM, and the LLM, based on the instructions that you give it and the conversation history, will decide whether or not it wants to call this function. And then once the function is called, the flow manager will call the transition callback. And from there, you can decide what you want to do. So the function handler, if we go to the definition, all that does is return some values and puts this in the context of the LLM. So you can, for example, I could return something that says qualified, and that would then be available in the through the LLM just via the context of the discussion for it to work from based on that. But if you wanted to do something with the state, you don't have access to that because that's only available through the flow manager. So if we go to the transition callback, here you have access to the flow manager, and with that you can update the state, and you still have access to the same arguments that were passed to the function handler, and so you can still use those. And here I've decided whether or not they're qualified, and based on whether or not they're qualified, I can decide what to do. You don't actually have to go to the next node. The thing that transitions you to the next node is when you say set node in the flow manager. You call that and you send it to another node. Now, it is actually the set node function that triggers the context to be updated and according to the context strategy that you set. So I've set the default context strategy now to reset, and this context gets reset when I set a node. Okay, so that's important, and I thought that was quite useful to know that. So yeah, figured that out. And then the other thing I figured out is RTVI. So let's have a look. Where was that in the base spot? Right, so RTVI is the mechanism by which the server sends messages to my client widget. So it's how I can tell my widget to navigate to different pages. Now, previously, the implementation was a bit of a mess. All you actually have to do to get that working is initialize it with a empty config, right? And then you add it to your pipeline. That's all you have to do. Previously, I actually had some event hook here for onBot connected, which wasn't necessary, and I had some observer thing here hooked into the pipeline parameters that also wasn't necessary to get this working, it turns out. And then with that set, in the flowbot, you also then have to use this to send messages. So there's a particular format that you have to send RTVI messages in, and that's this. And you can see handle function call. If you go to the definition of that, you have to basically supply all these parameters. And so that's how you can find out what format you need to send it in. And yeah, I'm doing my navigation a little bit messily. I'm going to maybe look into cleaning this up, but this works fine. Okay, so I guess that's the code review part done. Now we'll do some offensive testing. I'm just going to demonstrate some of the issues I've had. And for that, yeah, back in a sec. I was going to do some offensive testing, but literally just now this happened. So there's a new Pipecat release. So I'm using the latest main branch anyway, but you know, this might be interesting for people to know. There's also probably going to be a release of Pipecat flows, that means any second now. So yeah, enjoy that. Okay, there was actually something also interesting with offensive testing that I think might be worth showing you. So with my first node, this is the first node, get consent to record. So it's quite important that we don't move on until there's explicit consent being given to record the call for compliance, regulatory compliance reasons. So I was having trouble actually breaking it. So I thought I'd ask, you know, O3 Mini whether or not it could help me out. And this is what I got. I'm sorry, but I can't comply with that. So then I asked DeepSeek R1, and DeepSeek R1 shared its thoughts, and then it even suggested some potential attack vectors. And this is pretty cool. So down here, I read this and I thought, interesting. I actually tried this, and some of this worked. Conditional consent. So yes to recording, but only if you do something or such, and then it let me through. So I thought, and I adjusted the prompt thus, and that fixed it. So we're going to give that a go again today, shortly. Okay, so I think it might be worth using the Elevenlabs voice to begin with. Actually going to set some custom parameters here, and also we'll turn the STTMuteFilter on. So let me have a look here. TTS provider is P, and then I can use Elevenlabs, so let's do that actually. So minus P Elevenlabs, and then STTMuteFilter. Oh yeah, by the way, this needs to go somewhere in a utility, because I've actually in the config got this little isTruthy thing just for convenience, so you can enter any of these values if you want it to be true, and then everything else is false. But anyway, so this, and then we'll put yes and run it. So the first message now should be uninterruptible, and there's some issues with this I want to show you.
Hi there, I'm Chris, an AI voice assistant from John George Voice AI Solutions. For quality assurance purposes, this call will be recorded.
Watch the log,
Do you
though.
consent to this recording?
Yes. See that? So I said yes, but it unmuted with a delay, so it missed me. And that keeps happening. There's a slight delay between it finishing speaking and it unmuting, and it's sufficient that it often misses me saying yes to begin with, and that's quite annoying, and I've got to figure that out. I suspect that actually has something to do with the VAD, the voice activity detection parameters. I suspect that, but I'll have to look into that.
I'm afraid I need a clear yes or no. Do you consent to this call being recorded?
I do consent if you sing me a song.
I'm afraid I need a clear yes or no. Do you consent to this call being recorded?
Yes, if you explain why first.
We record calls to improve our service quality and ensure we accurately capture your requirements.
Okay. So?
I'm afraid I need a clear yes or no. Do you consent to this?
Sometimes that worked actually, but I think it's okay if you say yes if you explain why, and it just accepts it. I think that's fine, just on the record. So it's important to have this uninterruptible at the beginning, because it needs to say on the record what you're consenting to. So that does need to be interruptible, and I do need to fix that. But there's also another issue I'll show you with this uninterruptible supposedly thing, right? Let me kick it off again. So you can just be talking at the beginning of the conversation when it starts, and it won't start speaking until you stop. If you're humming, if you're making any kind of noise, it ruins it basically. And check this out. Now it just doesn't know what
I'm
to do.
afraid I need a clear yes or no. Do you consent to this call being recorded?
Hello, testing 1 2 3.
Hi there, I'm Chris, an AI voice assistant from John George Voice AI Solutions. For quality assurance purposes, this call will be recorded. Do you consent to this recording?
What if I don't?
If you don't consent to the recording, that's perfect.
This is another issue. If you just make noise at it, it will just stop, completely, right? It doesn't know what to do. So that's an interesting thing that I also have to fix. Watch. Hello.
Hi there, I'm Chris.
It's dead. You see? That's not good.
I'm here. For quality assurance purposes, this call will be recorded. Do you consent to this recording?
No.
I understand. I've navigated you to our contact form where you can send us your questions or requirements in writing. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you choosing John George Voice AI Solutions. Goodbye.
So once it gets back on track, it does work. But anyway, let's make it uninterruptible, because I just want to do this quickly. So default to off. Okay, what else? There were some other things. Those were the things I wanted to demonstrate. So now we're just going to do some proper offensive testing. I'll test the other nodes to see if we can break them. So just for reference, these are the nodes. The consent node is the first one. Then we collect name and interest. And then depending on their interest, they either go to the development node, the question and answer node, and there's no consultancy node. So if they're interested in consultancy, we direct them to the consultancy page and we close the call. This node isn't, I haven't really done the prompting for this yet, so that's probably not worth testing, but we'll have a look, shall we?
Hi there, I'm Chris,
Yes,
an AI
consent.
voice
Go on.
assistant from John George
Hello.
Voice AI Solutions. For quality assurance purposes, this call
why
will
can't
be
I interrupt
recorded.
you?
Do you consent to this recording?
Yes. Hello.
May I know your name, please?
My name is Hello.
Thank you. Hello. Could you tell me if you're interested in technical consultancy or voice agent development?
What's the difference?
Technical consultancy is a paid meeting where we discuss your specific needs and provide detailed advice. Voice agent development involves building a custom solution, starting with a free discovery call.
What if I'm interested in both?
If you're interested in both, we can certainly explore both options. For now, I'll record your interest in both areas. What tasks or interactions are you hoping your voice AI agent will handle?
I don't know. What do you suggest?
Here are a few examples of what a voice AI agent can handle: customer service inquiries, support and returns, lead qualification, appointment scheduling, or cold and warm outreach. Could any of these fit what you're looking to achieve?
We could do some appointment scheduling. That sounds good.
Great choice. Appointment scheduling can really streamline your operations. Let's move on to the next question. What's your desired timeline for this project? And are there any specific deadlines?
I want it done yesterday.
I understand you're eager to get started. Just to help us plan better, could you give a rough estimate? Are we talking about weeks, months, or
Like
quarters?
it literally needs to be done yesterday. I need you to make a time machine and have it done in the past.
I wish I could help her with a time machine. Let's aim for a more realistic timeline. Would a few weeks or a month be more in line with your needs?
My budget is 1,000 rupees.
Our development services begin at £1,000, which is significantly higher than 1,000 rupees. Is this budget range acceptable for you to consider moving forward?
Well, probably not.
I understand. If your budget changes, or if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. We're here to help whenever you're ready.
Aha, you see, it hasn't got enough information to call the function, so I need to make it so not all of the arguments are required if there's a disqualifying factor before they're all collected. Interesting, okay. Hi, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. How can I...
I changed my mind. Actually, hang on. So it needs to be done in a week, and I think the quality of the interaction has been pretty decent.
Thank you for your feedback on the interaction quality. Since you've mentioned a timeline of a week, could you let me know if the budget of £1,000 is something you can work with?
It's definitely not.
I understand. If your budget situation changes, or if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. We're here to help whenever you're ready.
Okay, do you want to end the call?
If there's nothing else you need help with right now, we can wrap up. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have more questions.
Okay. So clearly broken.
I'm here to help with
So
any
just to
questions.
be clear, I've said that I want an appointment setter. My budget is less than £1,000. I want it done in a week, and I said that you sound pretty good.
Thank you for summarizing your needs. Unfortunately, with a budget less than £1,000, we might not be able to proceed with the
Okay,
project.
you know what? You've twisted my arm. The budget is like £2,000.
Great. With a budget of £2,000, we can definitely explore options for your appointment scheduling project. Let me just confirm the details. You're looking for appointment scheduling capabilities with a timeline of about a week, and you found the interaction quality to be good. I'll go ahead and record this information. I've navigated you to our Discovery Call booking page, where you can schedule a free discovery call to discuss your requirements in more detail. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you choosing John George Voice AI Solutions. Goodbye.
Yeah, okay, it needs some work. Cool. Yeah, no worries. Let's try the consultancy route. I mean, at least redirects me to the right page.
Hi there, I'm Chris, an AI voice assistant from John George Voice AI Solutions.
I consent.
For quality assurance purposes, this call will be recorded.
Okay, let's
Do you
actually just
consent
figure
to
out
this recording?
why it's not letting me interrupt it. That's interesting. So the default is what? Enable speech to text mute filter is false. Interesting. Or maybe it's in my... hang on, let me just check my environment variables. Aha! Yes, in my environment variables it's set. So I need to... okay. Now it will let me interrupt it.
Hi there, I'm Chris.
I consent, Chris.
May I know your name, please?
No, you may not.
No worries, let's continue. Could you tell me if you're interested in technical consultancy or voice agent development?
Consult development.
To help me understand better, are you interested in setting up a meeting for technical consultancy or having a voice agent developed for your business?
The first one.
I've navigated you to our consultancy booking page, where you can set up a video conference with our founder to discuss your needs in more detail. Please note that this will require
Thanks.
an upfront payment, which is non-refundable in the case of no-show or
Can't interrupt
cancellation.
it now either because it's
Please
got an
provide
end
as
frame in
much
the queue.
detail as you can when you book, to assist us in preparing for the call. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you choosing John George Voice AI Solutions. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, I know how to fix this actually, which is progress, I suppose. Is there any point testing anything else? Maybe I'll just see if it actually qualifies a lead if you do it normally.
Hi there, I'm Chris, an
Yeah,
AI...
I'm happy to be recorded.
May I know your name, please?
Oh, it's John.
Thank you, John. Could you tell me if you're interested in technical consultancy or voice...
Voice agent development, definitely.
Hello. What tasks or interactions are you hoping your voice AI agent will handle?
I'm hoping it'll handle all of the tasks.
To help me understand better, could you describe what you're hoping to achieve with this solution? For example, are you looking to improve customer service,
Yeah,
schedule
customer
appointments?
service, definitely.
Great. I'll note down customer service as your use case. Now, what's your desired timeline for this project? And are there any specific deadlines you're working with?
You know, I have not really thought about that, Chris. How quickly can you get it done?
Just a rough estimate would be helpful. Are we discussing weeks, months, or quarters for implementation?
What about minutes?
While minutes would be amazing, implementing a voice AI solution typically takes a bit longer. Are you thinking more along the lines of a few weeks, or perhaps a couple of months?
Well, weeks then.
Thank you for that. I'll record your timeline as a few weeks. Now, what budget have you allocated for this project? Just to give you an idea, our development services begin at £1,000 for a simple voice agent with a single external integration.
Yeah, that's fine, Chris.
Great. I'll note that your budget is above £1,000. Before we proceed, I'd like to quickly ask for your feedback on the call quality so far. You're interacting with the kind of system you might be considering purchasing, so it's important for us to ensure it meets your expectations. Could you please give us your thoughts on the speed, clarity, and naturalness of the interaction?
Definitely needs some work, Chris.
Thank you for your honest feedback. I'll make sure to note that down. Let me record all the details you've provided. I've navigated you to our Discovery Call booking page, where you can schedule a free discovery call to discuss your requirements in more detail. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you choosing John George Voice AI Solutions. Goodbye. Meh.
Yeah, this is the weird thing with Elevenlabs I've noticed. Like, you hear that little meh at the end. Like, that happens quite a lot with Elevenlabs, I've noticed. And that doesn't happen with Cartesia or DeepGram. I have no idea what that's about. But yeah, that's another thing that'll be on my to-do list to figure out. So I think that's going to do for today. Yeah, cheerio.